I warned her. She came and said, John's gonna ask you lots of questions if there is.
We talked a little bit about it. I think some money that's going to be spent on more technology. Need to up the game, get ready for 5G, and this doesn't do it. Unless I'm mistaken.
What is this?
Thanks. Residency publication, I don't know what it's supposed to be.
Filtration system at the pool.
Oh, okay, got it.
So, yeah.
They tried to blow them up full scale, but they're just too fuzzy.
Yes, they are. You should have had me take the picture.
Okay, I'm gonna get
I don't know
into
what
this,
before I
John.
used to
I
take
was in the
pictures.
flight path
I'm gonna get into this, and I'm gonna show,
of the thing, I don't want to take away.
I'm gonna get into my think this, and then I'm gonna show you what I get on email.
Well, you don't care, I just did, because I look at this.
Gobbledygook or nothing?
Nothing.
You need just big crowds here, you should keep it cool, because when it gets all full of people,
Yeah.
can you tell?
It's not tonight.
Well, I'm surprised they weren't waiting at the door, because we're usually here at 6:30.
Yeah, that's what I thought, well, they were here at 6:30, because they thought it started at 6:30.
Oh,
You were lined up at the door.
Well,
It's
that's
okay.
good. I'm sorry, no, it isn't good.
No, it is. It was okay. Better to be early
You like
than
to keep people waiting.
not show up.
That's true.
I can
At least
talk
I
like
wasn't
that
boring.
anyway.
Right?
That's a good
We learned a
fire
lot.
response, so I can keep people.
Okay. Okay, nothing has arrived yet. City Council, position 1. There, see it? I have nothing.
doesn't like something in there, it says I must fix it.
Oh. What's my password?
Unless you changed it,
Well, I just put that in. Are you sure, is it this down here? or-
is this your crazy mouse?
Yeah,
Yep.
my crazy mouse.
Nope, doesn't like it.
I know. So you want me to type this in there?
Did you get through all the graduation parties and
We have two more.
two more?
This week I had one Saturday, one Sunday.
I'll have
We went,
Antigua reset it, because I can't reset it.
well, you know. Yeah, we
Well,
signed
I'll let
Sonia
you
on
take it with
Sunday.
you tonight.
Hmm?
I'll let you take it with you tonight,
Okay,
okay?
all right. It's just a paperweight to you, huh? Well, you can get into the, you can still use it to get to the
Oh,
web.
yeah,
web,
yeah,
okay.
sure.
Suppose you want me to sign this.
Getting ready to get again. I'll get it
Sure.
if needed.
There's a pin there, but you can use this as soon as you.
Let's do a line. Can't remember one. No, we need blue.
Oh, no, you have to use the magic. Actually, there's pretty good reason.
You should throw a check in here, and sign a check.
You wanna hear something funny about this mouse? I use it on my computer at home, and you use it the right way. But on this one, you have to, your right click is your left click on this one. It is weird.
It's gotta be in the settings.
Are you sure you and Susan Copeland don't have some kind of, telepathic link going on?
Well, you wanna hear something really strange. Joyce does something on the computer at the shop. I get it on my home PC. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, she was looking up some drills that she'd picked up at an estate sale to put a price on them, you know? And the next day I opened up my computer and I got an email from this same place on eBay that she was looking it up, but I've never looked up a drill. Here it was.
Oh, wow.
She's looked into hiring V full-time, so she's got to work through, you know, Department of whatever, through the state. I got her emails. They were sent to me, and it's just,
Some of that stuff is actually kind of scary.
that,
Yeah.
that was scary.
That's exactly right. Got a few minutes.
Where's old Waiter at tonight?
He's, the city of Aberdeen called him in to do a double shift. They're having some staffing challenges, so.
You guys have limits on how many hours a dispatcher can work before you have to take a break? You know, can they work this double shift or
14.
14 hours?
It's a long time to be sitting behind a radio.
Yeah, considering what they are dealing with in many instances, it certainly is a lot, right?
14's a rarity. 12 is
I would imagine.
hold on for 2 hours.
Hey, man. Hey.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Oh, we got to Jeff Myers now?
Hey, Dan,
Uh-huh.
It better be.
Shop Hop Saturday, are you gonna be around?
This? Definitely. Looks like the
We're
last one
starting
that I
at
got.
the market
The market.
at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Okay, good. Numbers may have changed at the end. But it looks just like the last one that I got. But one day we talked about upgrading system.
More things change, the more they stay the same.
Yeah.
Whole 9 times.
Oh, there you go, maybe need. Very good. Fantastic.
Hey, Rachel.
I wondered about that 10-hour drive down.
Are you serious?
Actually, now we'll create those, so.
Just stay way down there, please.
I know.
What are you guys doing? Oh. Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
I'll sit back here. Better.
I don't think it's on the agenda today. Brightwire Networks asked me to come up with one or two tour of their facility. They're the ones that we're looking at too. Yeah. They are, they're in, well, they, come to find out, they used to be down by the airport, now they're up by,
Yeah.
on Cary Loop by the old auto. And, they have a really nice facility, it's set up, they're really focused on
Hey, we got anything?
system security, not just,
Just trying to get you.
and, they've got a
Man,
plan
I
for
think
everything.
Chase is gonna be gone
If
for
you submit a trouble ticket, they
a long time.
have a,
Unfortunately,
indication.
we probably
This is in
like
every, and they pride themselves on all of those. Unfortunately, it looks like they're a little more than not.
Where are you wedding?
What's that the one?
Oh, they do. Yeah.
No, that's, I'm sorry, you're thinking of, her name is Crystal Ramos, and the company, I can't think of the name of the company, but they're about build process. This is the network.
For example, everybody staying there.
Also to do our in-house.
Yeah.
Literally going back.
These guys look like they're gonna be cross-boated.
Found this little shoe shop.
But it does illustrate,
And he made me a pair of some.
you know, complaints with the Tegan is their responsiveness or lack thereof.
And count
For what we're
money.
paying them.
I found a story, it's just like Andy Griffith. It's just
Something
something
more
more understandable.
understandable. It doesn't make any
I
more
called
sense.
separately,
Right.
put 2 hours, I was
Maybe
playing back.
that was the contract price.
Can't do that.
I don't know if they're still, I thought they were, when I talked about it to you when we first got them, I thought they were,
Well, they were.
they did a ton of work with the fire department, but they seem to be, maybe just got involved or whatever, got it staff.
Well, the other half of the management team, Ryan Hanson, he's working for the fire department.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's doing IT for the district. He was.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and Keith is good. Yeah, they're both technically proficient.
In the summertime, I still hang up my jeans outside. Yep. Hey, you know, too.
Just put the this one.
We're gonna put them in the water, how do you do that?
I'm sure everyone's the same.
Well, my brush would have been fine if I didn't have to stand out there. I just got a reflection of myself in here, scared to have.
Yeah, a couple minutes.
Did Will say anything? Oh,
He said, yes, he said they applied for
the last time I spoke with him, he said, heck yeah, if I want to do that, we'll do that. Now, we understand they want to kind of keep it quiet. Yeah.
I just got curious about, do they apply with things, do they, the process or anything? I was gonna try to, get it good.
A peep since before I went to the
I gotta come to this week about that, and then, registration fees, so maybe.
to the hotel.
Dinner.
July 13th.
We have to get registered, at least I've seen some registration for the actual conference. Okay, well, let's do another ones.
I'll double check on that.
I got it in the, I'll come by, I got it on my email, so.
Or you can just send it there.
Yeah, I can send it to you guys.
Just
Just an easy place to all those things.
yeah, she grew up with you. But her son and my son are friends.
Maybe they
Yeah.
can check
Yeah.
me.
And she was whatever controversy there was. And she probably narked on it.
That part,
Yeah.
let's get past that.
Send my little check, and she will.
You know, say when you got a credit card.
I used to,
That's hilarious.
I used to use the railroad tracks as a jumper. Right down the hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's our house and his house, you know?
I forgot. Thank you.
I didn't lose that pen. Rachel. Sure. Rachel.
This is good, you have that, but I'll keep the clock.
Is that a surprise to you?
Two. About a minute and a half.
Nikki said one.
But
He's been around longest.
That's right.
You can do the TC
Why is that?
That would be our regular,
That one, this one, and that one, they're all in there.
20 words for $10 per week. Phone numbers and email addresses are considered for each.
Can use what?
And
You can't say
you
it's
get 3
one of those
weeks
blue
for $20.
That's probably.
Well, mine says 7:29.
Yeah, exactly. They never keep saying.
Get it to me
So does mine, this.
before
You know it's
noon.
correct.
What's it say?
The week before to start.
That's what my phone says too.
Laptop says that.
Yeah, I'm not listening to it, so. Here it is, summertime, and my hands are freezing.
It's not warm. Of course, it's not really cold either, it's just windy. It is. You're right.
It's working.
Are you cold? Are you cold?
It's chilly, but it's not that
Oh, oh. Yeah, it is.
Don't forget that.
Oh my God.
Right.
Oh,
Don't worry about me, I'll be fine.
yeah, I'll be fine.
Okay. Okay, call to order the June 25th, 2019 regular meeting of the Tenino City Council.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody for being here. First item on the agenda is approval.
Approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Next is approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the minutes from the last meeting? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar.
Move approval. Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar consisting of the June 12th through June 25th, 2019 payroll ETFs in the amount of $21,816.81 and claims checks 28,329 through 28,350 in the amount of $20,693.12 for a total of $42,509.93. And no liquor or cannabis license application renewals. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No executive session presentations. Here you go, after an hour and a half. We have Mr. Keith Llewellyn and Executive Director and Mrs. Wendy Hill, Deputy Director of TCOM 911. Thank you for coming.
Is this on?
There should be right there.
Mr. Mayor, Pro Tem, City Councilors, City staff, thank you for having us. It's been, a couple of years since we've been out to talk with you, and a lot has happened since then. I got to post for the picture. So. Anyway, I have our presentation in front of you, and some of it is an update of the things we talked about last time, and then some of it is what we're going to do in the near future. And we're making our tour around the county to let our member agencies know what we're up to and where we're going from here. So if you have any questions along the way, just ask and we'll take care of them. First slide is really kind of the important takeaway here is we have 61 full-time equivalents at TCOM. And of those 61, 47 of them actually do the frontline work. They're the 911 operators and dispatchers, and they staff the place 24/7, 365 days a year. So we are a pretty lean organization. We feel good about our efficiencies, and we've been at this staffing level for the last year. We've been recovering from in 2013, we had to freeze 5 positions. We actually reduced 1 position as a result of the economic downturn from 2008. actually got to the end of our reserves and had to take some drastic action. So we feel good that we're back to 2013 levels. We're still behind the curve on workload, but we're good staffed at this point. Next slide is some demographics the last 3 years, telephone activity, and you can see the 911 activity, the red bar there, is staying pretty constant, about 150,000 calls a year, 911. The 10-digit line, non-emergent, is running about 187,000, 190,000. That line is kind of deceiving because a lot of folks call our 10-digit line for emergency situations. All of the police departments and fire departments, after hours numbers, their non-emergent numbers are routed to TCOM, and so we pick up a lot of calls that way. So some of those are emergency calls, and then our outgoing traffic as we make calls to connect people to the help that they need.
Question,
Yes, sir.
how much of this is cell phone?
We're running at about 85% cell phone right now.
Okay.
So we see a constant decrease in landline usage year over year, both in revenue and actual calls. Yeah. So good question. Most people don't even have a landline anymore.
Well, I probably wouldn't, except that I want to give a business to Tenino telephone.
Oh,
Because,
well, there you go.
That's why I couldn't.
Okay. And some people need it for security systems, and others need landlines, but yeah. Next slide is dispatch incidents over the last 3 years, and you can see by far law enforcement is the majority of our call use, our dispatch system, and they run about 85% of our business. 15% is fire and EMS, and of that 15%, 85% is EMS. So it's funny how the demographics fall out, but that's how they fall out. So law enforcement by far, and if you think about it, law enforcement, they're in their vehicles all the time. They're patrolling like they should be in the community, and so they're constantly talking with us, they're constantly doing work. Whereas fire is incident based, so only respond when there's an incident. So therefore, their work is actual incident based, and law enforcement is other things. Yes, sir.
Back to the personnel side, sorry, I should have asked this sooner. I can't remember where it was, they moved their operators and gave them first responder status, which gave them better health care and all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
like that. Are we going to do, or did I miss that here in Thurston County?
So it's actually a debate at the federal level, where, and I forget what office at the federal level sets the classifications for job functions, but right now 911 dispatchers are classified as clerical help.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a petition among the legislature on the federal level to have them classified as public safety personnel. So, and we would, after that happens on the federal level, then we would pursue it in Washington State as well.
Okay.
Yeah. That must be from all the news you hear, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, the next slide is about just in the law enforcement incidents broken down by department. And you can see Tenino PD at 2% of our call volume. So a little over 3,000 calls last year. And for fire, these numbers came from before the merge. So we have 12 and Bucota split out here. But Fire District 12, they're at 900, almost 1,000 calls last year. And then a little bit about our funding source. This should be no surprise. The majority of our funding comes from sales use tax, and that sales use tax is on emergency communications systems. That's what it's for. It's collected countywide. Right now it's at 0.1%, and that accounts for 60%, 61% of our funding. And so it's a very important source of funding for us. The other, or 30%, comes from excise tax. This is the tax on your telephones. Anything that can access 911 comes, we get 70 cents a month per device here in Thurston County. 25 cents a month goes to the state, in our office.
Why does the state get so much of it?
The state is mandated to provide or make sure that every county in the state has the same level of 911 service as every other county. And so
The
they
peanut
get,
butter approach, that doesn't work.
they get their 25 cents so that they can make, subsidize small rural counties who don't have the revenue from the excise tax. Short answer, that was the short answer. Okay, so the most immediate challenge for us is really the replacement of our public safety radio system. I think the last time I was out, I gave you a forecast that we would be addressing this issue in the very near future. And here we are a few years later, and sure enough, we need to. And the question is, why do we need to replace the current radio system? And this system that we're working on was initially put together over 4 years ago. There's been some upgrades over the years, but it's been a patchwork approach. And this is an analog system in a VHF band where there's no capacity for expansion, and the coverage is not what it should be for public safety. So we looked at the coverage and capacity and decided it was time to replace the system. In addition to that, we have two major components of the system that are outside of manufacturer support, which means we're literally looking for parts on eBay and other things to just hold it together. And that's really not a good way to run business, so just telling you. The other advantage of replacing the system is it can bring us into a digital radio system whereby we would be more interoperable with Pierce County to the north and WSP, who operates in Thurston County on the highways and interstates. They also operate on the Capitol campus. So this digital system would enable us to have greater interoperability in those ways. We would also preserve the ability to interoperate with other counties like Lewis and Grace Harbor and Mason, who will remain on VHF or UHF. We'll keep systems in place to make sure we're able to communicate across those lines as well. A classic example of the lack of interoperability was the Amtrak derailment, and they just released the final report this last week, and there were a bunch of things that were wrong. But one of the things we learned in a real life case use was that the radio systems were not able to talk to each other. So JBLM were the first responders, they got there first. Pierce County came in second, and Thurston County was third. Thurston County was third, but yet it had best access to transport the victims out of the scene, and we ended up transporting a large percentage of them. But literally, the incident commander on that incident had communications personnel, one from each of those three departments, sitting in a truck side by side, talking on a different radio system and communicating back and forth that way. So, and that's not a good way to run a scene. You obviously know that. So that's our case use for how we need to be on the same systems.
How much longer is this system that you're talking about going to last? I mean, we've got 5G just on the horizon.
Right.
And we're still talking UHF and VHF.
Are you talking about the existing system or the new system?
The existing.
So the existing system is really past its life. We have one of the major components, the dispatch consoles, that will lose manufacturer support last year. And then the base stations at the towers will lose manufacturer support next year. So those are two key components. So we're there.
Okay, so are we talking about just replacing equipment, or are we talking about a true upgrade that looks 20, 30, 40 years down the road?
The next system will have a 15-year life cycle, and because it's newer technology, it will be based on IP standards and we'll be able to replace with commercial off-the-shelf products, or we'll move to mission-critical LTE or some other kind of communications as they become public safety grade. They're not there yet, so we have to invest in land mobile radio right now in a digital system that will get us the next 15 years down the road.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So here's our plan. First, we want to secure the funding, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We plan to partner with Washington State Patrol, and we'll talk about that as well. And then we plan to purchase from a competitive bid contract that already exists. And then we want to implement the system within the next 3 years. So that is our plan. Now let me talk a little bit about how we're going to get through that plan. So the first thing we did was we secured some source of funding that we still have to work on, but we went to the legislature this last session and we asked them to raise the ceiling on the emergency communications sales use tax from 1/10 to 2/10. And against all odds, we were able to get through the legislature in one session. I've never heard of that happening in my lifetime, but we did, and largely in due part due to the efforts of Representative Griffey on the left here, my left, and Representative Beth Dolio on the House side, and then Senator Sam Hunt. These were champions for our bill and got it through the legislature, so I'm very happy about their participation. Now, the second leg of that funding source is it's a local enabling legislation. So we can't raise any of that tax to the ceiling without the local voters' approval. So that will come back in the near future. And why do we need additional funding? Well, here's our 2019 budget, and as you'll see, the revenue's $9.4 million, the expenses are $8.5 million, leaves us with about $890,000, almost $1 million. But that amount of money, even though it seems significant, is not enough to fund a capital expense or the debt service. And it's not enough to really add the staff that we need to add for the workload that we're experiencing. So our current revenue sources keep us in operations at the level we're at today, but in bad economic times, it doesn't cover it, as you know. We went through that in 2013. And then any large capital expense would not be covered either, so.
That's a question.
Sure.
As you know, there's a move to have a sunset on the new taxes that were imposed this year. If that does come about, how is that going to affect you guys?
You know, I'm not totally familiar with the ballot measure.
Okay.
It's a 9-in measure, right? Is
Yes.
that correct? I'm not totally familiar, so I don't know, honestly. I know that our thought or our preference is not to sunset this sales use tax because we will continually have to upgrade equipment.
I understand that.
Okay.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
know.
I don't know.
Because this is all happening this year.
Yeah, I need to do some research on that.
Okay. How many more people are you looking to hire?
6 is what one 24-hour position takes 6.28 people to do at TCOM right now. So if we were going to add one position, that's what we'd need, and that's what we penciled out.
I was thinking 5, but close.
Yeah, 5.25 was a number for years and years, but as you know, benefits increase, we need to adjust that. So yeah. More on funding. The TCOM Administration Board on June 5th passed a resolution, and the resolution asked the Board of County Commissioners to pass a resolution to put the ballot measure on the November 2019 ballot. So we want to get our ballot measure in front of the voters in Thurston County this November. And as in our discussions with all three of the commissioners and with the county manager, we think that that is entirely doable. They are currently scheduled, in fact today they set the agenda for their July 23rd meeting, and in that meeting they have our resolution on their agenda. So that's the date that we are planning to have the county commissioners pass that resolution. Before we can get to the resolution, however, there is language in the RCW that requires us to go to all of our signatories to our intergovernmental agreement and get affirmation that the agreement terms and conditions are still good, or renegotiate the IGA. So last week we sent out a letter to the mayor and the chief of police, right? Asking that you all take some action in terms of affirming the IGA with TCOM. Your city of Tenino is a signatory to that IGA, and that action does not have to be formal. It can be as informal as a discussion and a consensus among your board. We would need something in writing from you all that says, we discussed this, we affirm the terms and conditions, we're continuing on with the IGA.
We want to see it on the board,
You want to see what?
a seat on the board.
I've heard that. How do we do that?
You guys expand the board, I guess.
Now, my understanding is that there was,
There's one person that takes care of all South Thurston County.
there was an ask to do that at one point, right?
Yeah.
To the administration board?
Mhm.
And do you remember when that was?
No, I've never heard anything back.
Oh, I thought
It
they,
was after I came on board, so it was after 2017.
so right now your rep is a councilman out of Yelm,
Yeah, Tracy Wood.
correct?
I used to be on that board.
We had this discussion when you were here the last time.
Exactly correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, membership of the board is not up to me, of course, it's up to the board. And there's a process there's a process for new members, which is what they use for this sort of request as well, so.
Thurston County's getting much larger, Tenino's getting much larger. We'd like to see it on that board.
Okay.
Plain and simple.
Well, how do we go about,
Thank you.
okay,
I'll work it.
Okay.
thank you, John.
I think what you need to do is get on the agenda at the TCOM Administration Board and then present your case and see what they want to do. But I'm going to tell you this about that. Right now we're in a time bind because we need to get these affirmations done before July 23rd so that the Board of County Commissioners can take their action. So although I understand your request, I'm going to...
Yeah, the request isn't going to change how we feel about this stuff, but we still should have, at this point in Thurston County history, we should now have a seat on that board instead of just depending on one person. When I was on that board, I advocated to have at least somebody from Yelm and Tenino. Yelm could take care of Yelm and Rainier, we could look after us and Wacota. And the reason that they didn't like it back then is because all of a sudden that was an extra vote out of South Thurston County.
Yeah, I don't know the politics, I don't even pretend to know the politics about that. But I do know the process, and I think that that's where you should go with your request. I understand the request. I also understand that we need affirmation of the existing IGA soon, so I would ask you to take that up. If the ballot measure is successful in November, then we would legitimately begin the process to collect in January. And what that takes is notifying Department of Revenue, and they need 75 days notice. Is it July 4th coming up?
Oh
I
my
think so.
There goes
Yep.
another call for you right there.
I know.
Probably
I
10.
know, yeah.
Did you hear?
I think putting their hand up.
Anyway, the bottom line on the revenue is if all goes according to plan, we wouldn't actually see any revenue until June 1st of 2020, so,
Gotta collect it first.
yes. And then there's a 2-month lag after that, so, yeah. Okay, so more about partnering with WSP. This makes a lot of sense to us because at the heart of a radio system is a thing called the core, and it's the brains of the system. And this core is capable of handling a lot of communications. And so for us to go out and buy another one of these cores seems like a waste of public funds. And so where WSP does business in Thurston County, has a core that's capable of handling Thurston County, and we would be able to maintain our own radio system independently on that core, manage our own business rules, all those things would be acceptable in the partnership. We just felt like it was a better use of public funds and fiscally more responsible and efficient and effective to do it that way. Now, with all that said, if for some reason the partnership falls apart or it's not possible, the standalone system is always a possibility. I mean, that's always a way to fall back. So we're not hooked in giving away the farm, so to speak.
If we have to have a standalone, would we be able to contract out with other jurisdictions as they need to upgrade?
Yes, if they're willing, certainly. Yeah.
Another revenue source.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And as I said, we plan on implementing over the next 3 years. First would install the communication center consoles. They're out of warranty right now, out of manufacturer support. Then we'd utilize existing sites where possible. So obviously when you move, well not obviously, but when you move from analog to digital, there are coverage concerns and we have to expand our system. So we will look for sites where we can co-locate with other governmental entities, like WSP in Pierce County. Pierce County actually covers our east and toward the south of us pretty well with their radio system, so they have a lot of towers out there. And then we would add sites to increase coverage. I talked about that. Here's the important thing as well. We're moving from VHF to 700 megahertz, which means that all the current existing radios are not going to work on the new system. So we're building into our capital plan to replace all the first responder radios at the same time we replace the infrastructure. And our plan is to include that in the capital for the first time and then hand over lifecycle management to each of the agencies from there forward. So that everybody can flip the switch on the same day, be on the same system at the same time. So, the last slide I always talk about is the kind of other services that don't get as much attention at TCOM. You should all know that we are able to do text to 911. So we tell people if you can call, we would prefer that. But if you need to text, there are situations where text to 911 is the best and only way to contact us, and we're totally capable of doing that. So as you're out and spreading the word about 911, that's another tool in your toolbox. And then Wendy, you want to hand those out? The other thing that we implemented last year is a thing called Smart 911. This is a program where citizens at no cost can go on the web at smart911.com and enter a safety profile with all the information or as little information as they want, but the information would be available to first responders when they call 911 from a registered phone number. So if they have bed-confined elderly person in their home, and they're calling about a fire in the house, that's important information to pass on to the first responders, where the bedroom is located, how to access it, etc. So this is a very valuable tool for specifically vulnerable populations, but for anybody. And it also travels with you. It's a national program. If other 911 centers around the nation have Smart 911, we paid for it, we installed it. They will get the same information if you call in their locale. Yes, sir.
Somebody registers, something happens, they register their cell phone, they're not home, something happens and they text 911, is that gonna be able to ping where they are?
It's connected to the phone they register, and you can register a number of phones. So your landline, your cell
I
phone,
understand that part.
your children,
But if I get
Right.
my cell phone
Yeah.
and I'm on the other end
it
of
travels
town,
with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you'll be able to say that, okay, he's not home, he's over here,
Right,
okay?
yeah. There is a service that comes with Smart 911, it's called Rapid SOS, I won't get into the details, but it actually pings your phone and sends the location information from your phone back to us.
2 years ago, there was a presentation, there was a one, every year we have that one day emergency situation thing, and I think it was you that gave the presentation. It sounds like it's gotten a lot better since then.
Yes, yeah, it has. And largely due to FCC requirements. The FCC is requiring us, carriers to improve their location accuracy technology. And they have about 5 years to complete that, so yeah, we're looking forward to better location information. That's what I have for you tonight, so any other questions?
Don't much, I've been asking along the way.
Anyway, I just have some comments of being
Okay.
close to this for some time. Well, it's been a few years, but it's definitely a need for the upgrades. We always had problems, even just communication between members on a scene sometimes, and so we are in a kind of an urban area most of the time, so I think this is an important improvement, and just people need to realize what an important part of the system, the communications. It's not only the dispatch, but during the scene, it's critical to have that communication between our dispatchers and our responders. So it's critical that I believe it's critical that we make these upgrades and move forward.
Totally agree, thank you. I do have copies of the interlocal if you'd be interested in seeing
Yes,
those.
please. So we don't have to make John print them.
Good job.
It's also available on their website.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, well,
Thank you for coming
again
down.
for
Sorry we
your time.
made you wait so long.
No problem at all.
I'll try to do better next time.
Thank you.
Okay, I get my computer back going here.
Dave, I want to apologize to everybody for speaking out and saying we want a position on the thing. It may have been, okay. I just wanted to apologize for speaking for us instead of finding out for sure.
Okay, next on the agenda, public comments. Is there anybody that would like to make public comment tonight?
Not yet.
Oh,
Not
we
yet.
got a tick.
Donna Wilson with 118
Push the
North
button.
Parkway.
Is it on?
I think it's on.
Yeah, it's on. And my comment is, these streets are getting so bad that, and Oregon Trail Days is coming up, the streets need to be cleaned, and they need to be proper cleaned. And I think the maintenance guys are doing a good job, but they need to think about Oregon Trail Days is coming up, and we're gonna have a lot of people in town. And we should be proud of our town. We should be proud that we have nice stuff out in the area where people can sit, or in wheelchairs or walkers or anything that they can sit down and relax and enjoy our town. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, public hearings, nothing, proclamations, none, old business, 2019-2024 STIP, and I don't have any link to anything on that, so I don't know, Wayne had something on.
Didn't provide anything.
They're working on it. Okay. Next one is proposed ordinance 903 would amend Title II of the Tenino Municipal Code.
That should be in there, sir.
Oh, so I got the wrong
Eagle
one.
Scout, Eagle Scout lead.
Yeah,
I must have got an old, maybe. So is it Eagle Scout, the next thing on there?
yes.
Okay, so Eagle Scout Lee's proposed to install approximately 40-foot of fence along a portion of one of the trails within the city park. Recommend.
Approval.
Second.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Eagle Scout Lee's community action project and accept the installation of approximately 40 feet of fencing within the Tenino City Park. Any discussion?
Where is it, like, exactly gonna be located?
Do you know where exactly we're talking
I
about?
have no clue where it's.
No, they owe us a map, you know, conceptually 40 feet of fence along a trail, but we don't know where. We've asked them for a map, trails coordinator.
Well, should we approve this then until we find out where it's gonna be?
Well, what I told them is that you would not approve it without a map.
Right. Okay.
Okay, move approval once we have the map.
Pending,
So,
pending and getting the map.
Pending.
yes,
Okay.
this way we don't have to bring it back.
Is there a second?
That's
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and it's seconded to approve Eagle Scout Lee's project pending receiving a map of the location of the fencing within the park. Any further discussion?
Yeah, but once he finally has it done, we should have a nice little plaque done up for him. A certificate of appreciation, and make it
Several
a
of
big
the
deal.
Eagle Scouts are
For all
doing
of
things
them?
up
Yeah.
there. Yeah, there's
Okay.
several.
Bring him to council meeting and make a big deal, get him in papers, stuff like that.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Resolutions, nothing. Ordinances, nothing. Reports, Chamber of Commerce, you're not here. EDC is not here. BCB, Fire District, Library, Museum,
No report.
Civil Service.
Oh, wait a second, yes, we do. The new dollars are in print now. And I've got 3 of them that I'm making sure that they're flat. I'm gonna frame them, and this will be the last presentation that we give. It's going to the county. The state has the first set. Who has the second set? Oh, we have the first set. The state has the second set. County will have the third set, and that'll be it. So we'll make the presentation as soon as I can get the bills flat, and it'll look something like this.
And on the table, there's a picture of the new walkway in front of the museum. If you look on the back page, I think, is it done now?
Yep, looks
If you go to Tenino Depot Museum, you'll see it there as well.
Really nice.
Looks nice.
Nice and clear.
Yeah.
Okay, on the next one, Civil Service Commission. Anything?
Quit playing on your phone.
Commissioner Lamb speaking. We have not had a civil service meeting this month yet, so I'm waiting for Ken's call to get to it. So whenever they call, I'll be ready.
Thank you. Planning Commission, I don't think they've had another meeting. Their last one got canceled. The sod improvement grant review.
Trying to put together a meeting, but I don't know if I want to do it next week. We're getting right into the garage sale for the Lions, and I am just try to get it for the first part of the month at the sod meeting. So you said you're free. I mean,
These are kind of conducting a little bit of
Yeah.
committee business here in council. My recommendation would be, we know the direction we want to take, so we just formulate the recommendation up to council, how we want to spend the money, and
yeah,
we can bring it forward on the 9th then for approval.
okay. All right.
Finance Committee hasn't met. Public Safety Committee, don't believe it's met. Chief of Police, does he have a report included in the?
No, I'm sorry, we didn't get a report from the chief. We got a kind of an ambiguous email shortly before we broke for dinner. I'm thinking that he took sick, so.
Okay. Director of Public Works is not here. Is there written word? I don't think I got the right.
It's on there.
It's another one. I can.
Here,
You wanna
you can
read
use
it?
mine. No, you read it.
It says, sorry he's not able to be here tonight. It's his daughter's fast pitch game in Montesano. Wastewater treatment plant. During the month of March, the treatment plant continues to perform optimally. All testing parameters are well within permit levels. Flows 2.83 million gallons. Average flow 0.091 cubic care. Total gallons wasted 78,740. Collection system, Public Works changed out 10 sewer pumps for the month of March. Water, the water quality monitoring schedule for 2019, see attached form. Public Works is working on replacing meters and fixing leaking shutoffs. They have also installed the yard hydrant for the farmer's market on Oldie Street. Park, they have been working on the ball fields, mowing the park, graded the old park road, graded parking at the QH courthouse, and put moss killer on the Tickner School roof. Streets, Public Work picked up trash from city limit sign, Old 99 West to Dakota Highway, 27 bags of garbage, landscaped around waterfall, Dakota Highway.
Yes, I went to Uncle last night at the Quarry House, and my car did not sink into the ruts. It was very nice.
Okay, city attorney, I don't believe there's anything. Clerk treasurer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We had an anomaly. I'm a little surprised that we actually regressed a little bit on our revenue projections, and the same with our expenditure projections. And I'm at a loss to explain why. It's not very much. It's like 0.2%, but it still should never be going backwards. So I have to dig into that and find out what it is. We're still well within reason. We're actually a little bit below where we should be on both of them. The general fund is starting, we're starting to see it equalize between revenues and expenditures. That seems to be an annual pattern. I expected to hear from the auditor's office in June about our audit. I did not, so my assumption is it's going to roll into the July-August timeframe. I know what they were up against is school's out, so they're trying to get the schools done, and once they get the schools done, they'll turn to us. You'll notice the funding, the grants portion of the thing changed a little bit. The YT Trail Extension Study is done. If they submit us a bill, we'll pay it. If they don't submit us a bill, we'll sit on it. We did not get any responses to our bid on the quarry pool renovation a second time. So we specifically requested the county coordinate with Housing and Urban Development and have them tell us how they want us to proceed. I can't remember what title it is of the Code of Federal Regulations, but I know in the code, if you follow the procedures 2 times in a row and get no bites, you're eligible to do things a little differently. So we want them to tell us how different we can do it. What we're trying to do is a sole source contract so that we can approach Mr. Spencer Dean, who's the guy that developed the plan for us, and see if his company can do the job. He had not bid on the job previously, but I mean we want to spend the money. They're going to take it back if we don't do something. So as soon as we hear from them, we'll try that. We now have the interlocal in place for the unused RCSP funds. Those are transportation dollars that we're going to use on the bike kiosk and then the sidewalks. Troy will have a plan on how to do that. The county did decide we're gonna get the $361,000 in 2019 CDBG dollars. So as soon as the county can turn those documents around, we think we hit on the key to success here is to use the city engineer to do these contracts. And then we move the capital budget line for City Hall reno. Department of Commerce has made the initial contact with us. We're reviewing those documents. Once the attorney gets them back to us, I have no idea why he would object to anything. It's a standard Department of Commerce contract. For the money to start flowing for this reno, the engineers locked and cocked to get that out of here real quick. We'd like to see work start before the end of the year. We'll see what happens. The EDC's Board of Directors will receive an update brief tomorrow from the vendor that's doing the initial planning work, that's SCJ Alliance. They're going to brief them on the conclusion of the initial planning efforts. We have spent the $75,000 that the Port of Olympia obligated for the project. The initial planning efforts have resulted in a nice set of charts. You guys got that brief already. Now we're looking at executing, and the EDC has, and you already know this, the EDC's already got a $1.2 million capital budget line for the building. We have a shortfall in that the building is just the building. That did not include any site prep, and it didn't include a foundation. And we think we've discovered a couple of different funding streams that we might be able to lock down to get that done. And so we're pursuing that. What we envision happening is at some point down the road, the city will have been credited with the money to extend the sewer and water out there, and then do the site prep for the first building, put the foundation on. We'll do the same, in our minds, we will do the same thing with the money for that building that we're doing with the money for the sewer and water extension. That is, we'll slide in under the EDC. And so what? So when the first building is built, we envision the city of Tenino owning.
I was gonna say, yeah.
The lease is still in place for the rest of the site, and that's the next, that's what the EDC and our partners are struggling with right now is what does site control look like? Who's the guy standing on the ground with the key to the locks to the doors and gets people to sign leases? That's the problem. It's not a bad problem to have. I was telling Councilmember Watterson on the wide area network, I was able to visit one of the potential vendors. They look great, they look like they do a great job for us, but the amount of money they were talking about, I think, is probably going to knock us out of that market. It's 3 times what we currently pay. I was thinking, twice what we currently pay is probably reasonable. I'm sure they're absolutely worth what they're asking, but it's a third of a full-time equivalent for us. Oops, sorry. Hold on. So the calculus they took us through, and you'll see this. They're going to come and give you a presentation, but I'm just kind of giving you a warning here. What they're going to illustrate for you is if we, the city ourselves, went out and hired an IT person, we could get a run-of-the-mill, technically proficient IT person for about 60 grand a year. That means the city's going to pay around 80 grand a year with benefits and everything. And when they got on the ground, we would have about 3 hours of work a week for them to do. So clearly, that's not in our deck of cards. So, you know, that's why we contract with the Teagan. Teagan's probably on the too low end. When you juxtapose $815 a month against $2,500 a month, you gotta ask, what's going on with the other $1,800? Well, that's why your email doesn't work. That's not a good problem to have, but I'll continue to wrestle it until we get an answer.
You're talking about, which one did you, were you talking about was way too much? There's two listed here, Brightwire Networks and HP.
Well, HP, I think they are having I haven't heard from them since I started this. They were on the net, oh yeah, we can do that, and then but Brightwire's given me some good insights. Now I think I have a better set of questions to ask other folks. And I think what we're gonna have to do is maybe set our sights a little bit lower. And you know, what's important is that our security needs be met. My big concern is right now, our hardware is failing. We don't have a hardware firewall solution here at City Hall. That's not good. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but it's really not good. We need we need a device in between what's coming in and what's being delivered to our machines. But other than that, we'll muddle along. Again, I'll figure it out, and we'll come back with a recommendation to you that we can take some action on. Pending your questions, that's my report.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, I'm guessing since he was the last minute, does he have a written report? I probably much the same as you. I do, to add on, I think they did have a meeting with some of the people that are looking at the building out there, kind of talking about design of the first building. It looked like there's 3 or 4 I saw on Facebook.
Which one are we talking about?
Talking about the ag park.
Oh, the ag park. Yeah.
So they,
I haven't seen what was bought. I'm a middleman here. My understanding is it's literally an erector set building.
yeah, like a prefab.
Right, like some kind of prefab, right?
Kind of like the marijuana building going up.
Well, could be.
Yeah.
Could be. I mean, that one's, I saw the plans on that one, so I'm a little more disposed to not call that one a prefab, but for all intents and purposes.
Okay, we'll move on to be that.
Well, is there a movie in the park this Friday night?
Yes.
Okay, that's the notes I have.
Moving in the
Posted
park.
it on Facebook.
Oh, they did?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
SIP, we have our meeting, I think it's July 3rd, so nothing to report on this one. Solid Waste Advisory Committee, the only thing I have to report there is the head of that division is resigning effective August 1st, so there's going to be more changes in the solid waste world, but there's nothing besides what I talked about last meeting, I think, about the whole solid waste plan and the problems we've had with that. We're still working on getting that squared away. Something just to bring forward, there's going to be a proposal at our next meeting. They're looking at doing a long-term extension with the contractor that runs the solid waste out at Hawkesbury. And just because there's so many changes and that solid waste plan is already 5 years old, even though it hasn't been approved, they're going to suggest doing a short-term extension, like 3 to 5 years, so we can really have time to dig into that plan and make sure we're getting the right things for that work out there that we need. So that's going to be a proposal, I think, before the board at this next meeting, is just do a short-term extension instead of a longer term that will tie us into something that may not be what we really need. So that's going to come before the board. TCOM 911, I guess we got a report from them. Tenino School Board.
Nothing to report.
TRTC, we have a meeting coming up, nothing to report since the last meeting. Study.
The meeting was canceled.
Okay. TPB.
There's if you click on it, or someplace in here, I saw the after meeting
Summary.
summary. It was actually a pretty good the first part of it was just to take care of basic housekeeping for Transportation Policy Board. But the second part was presentation between several different groups. TPV members were there, Transportation Policy Board, we were always there. What the heck's the other one? There's another group that comes, that is below us. And anyway, it was talking about basically the future of cars and how we're going to be moving around throughout Thurston County. And everything that I've been saying for the last 4 or 5 years is what they were talking about. But I still go further because I see things that they're not talking about yet. The only thing that I didn't like, and this was talking about afterwards, is I was talking with Ted Bailey, and he said one thing that I don't like is that WSDOT is trying to get people out of their cars. Literally. They're going to do everything that they can to make it so that you don't drive anymore. But as far as everything else, they really don't have any solid plans on how to test autonomous vehicles and the flying vehicles and all that kind of stuff. And it's a patchwork of different things throughout the United States of how people are looking at how to do all of this stuff. And that was one of the questions that I asked them, because it's going to have to happen soon, real soon. And, you know, they're still looking at maybe 2 generations before the autonomous vehicles really take hold. I'm looking at 2 generations, 2.5 at best, before flying vehicles take hold. I told them that I believe that all the stuff that's going into the autonomous vehicles are basically obsolete, because all of that stuff is going into flying vehicles, the avoidance systems and everything else. And the only reason that we're going to have autonomous vehicles is to get the next 2 generations used to not driving and having just telling it where to go, so that when the real push for flying vehicles actually hits, that generation's are ready for it. For example, right now you got 3, 4-year-olds that are using iPads and already using it better than their parents are. So, and I expressed all of that stuff, that I think that they're not thinking far enough ahead, and he kind of agreed with me, and that's why we had the meeting afterwards, he and I. And when I found out that WSDOT is trying to get everybody out of their vehicles. That was a little bit longer than what the after meeting summary was, but I actually enjoyed that meeting.
Public comment period 2. Would you like reading? Library, I know if you wanted to speak now, or you
May
can
I?
speak. Yeah, we already got past it, but go ahead.
Thank you, sorry, I was coming a little late from,
That's okay.
from Tumwater. So, hi, please.
So hi there, it's good to see you guys again. Pardon me, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm trying to project without coughing. So just 2 things tonight. First of all, I think that I've seen some communication between our director and the city about upcoming mediation to further janitorial services issues, and so just saying that we sincerely hope that works out well. If you have any questions specifically on the value of the library in the community, I'd be happy to meet with any of you anytime. Additionally, but that's not mine to really address. We have the summer reading program going on right now, so I brought everybody kind of a starter kit. It is for all ages, and there are many prizes to be had, so I brought a bag and a calendar for everyone, for you to use yourself or for a beloved family member. So I'm just going to leave these over here for you. That's it. Thank you.
Are we supposed to love our kids?
Doesn't matter as long as you love
Make
the
them go there.
library.
There you go.
Thanks. Uh-huh. So do you want me to kind of... Okay. All right. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any last comments or?
I didn't know
Yeah,
how many
speaking
people
of the
would
library, just to touch on
Everything's
real
at the
quick,
library.
maybe bring back next month. Quite some time ago, we were asked to do some repairs on the building, and we haven't seen anything from that. And I think it's been more our fault because we never made a direction to Public Works to go take a look at it and come back to us with a plan of what they wanted to do. So I think we need to do that. No, I don't know. All I know is that I went looking over there. This is the time of year I take my camera out. We go on walkabout. And I was looking up there and the fascia's falling off and some of it's rotten. The breather holes, they said that birds were getting in. Well, the breather holes don't have the screens in them anymore, so that's why that's there, which could be a bad thing. There might be some dead critters up in the attic. So I'm just suggesting, since this is just public comment, that we have a consensus and that Troy come up with some kind of a plan to get that taken care of.
Sounds like you're looking at that, I think, when I've heard it.
Okay.
Sure, it's
Some
still.
discussion about the library.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anything else? We won the visionary award, and we didn't do
Yeah.
that.
I saw that. Posted that on Facebook too.
Are you?
In July. Yeah.
Are you? Oh, great.
That's pretty exciting
I guess.
for the project. Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Good job, Dave. Good job.
one of the things after the meeting that the TPD had, I sat down and talked with Dave, is there might be some money out there that's up for grabs, and a lot of places don't know about it, to put in charging stations. And we can maybe get the rapid chargers and replace the buses that we have with electric buses.
There's a big push from the Volkswagen when they had that diesel thing where they had to spend, billions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's part of the program is electrification, so state has money that's coming up for stuff like that, so I'll make sure I keep an eye on it, and there's some opportunities for
Yeah.
organizations or us in transit to use some of that, hopefully we can.
Yeah, especially for these buses here, it'll save a whole lot of money. They're uglier in sin, but they hold the same amount of people, and they finally have the ability to actually go several hundred miles instead of what we're used to. That's all I have.
Okay, there's nothing else?
Non-debatable motion.
Yeah. You ready?
Mariners were leading for 7-3.
I like to think so. If our guys don't do it, they should have ran for the county to do it. That's what we've done the last couple of years. Because that one they have, it just doesn't work for me.
Oh, yeah, Amy was my helper, so I was supposed to be the helper, just like.
We got 4 weeks here.
Here we go. And here are.
Move it.
Coming, because she was. So
We messed up on the speed.
I was like, oh, great.
They were like, keep it up.
I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I did. And it was not like.
She did say that. Shoot, I was only gone for a week.
Yeah, no, I was totally. Yeah, she was, yeah. Because I was tall, we had a little scope.
We were going to be last time Linda was talking about it. She was trying to get one together, but I don't share it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That was like a lot of fun. What the hell, Angela?
Yeah, it's great.
Family and kids.
It's nice to know.
After 9 days.
Yeah.
That was good. We did.
They're not the babies that like.
It's a once a month, and it's on schedule.
Actually, don't question. They're like the in-between of. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, we're there.